So let's go ahead now and move on to our maker highlights. Now this is one of my favorite segments of the show because we get to show off some of the really cool work that students have been working on either here at Zen or submitted to us through email. And so today we have two maker highlights today. We've got Liam and Jesse. So let's go ahead and take a look at these projects that these two students have been working on. So first up, we have Liam's golf tee. Now this was a golf tee that was created by Liam for his grandfather, and I thought that this was a really cool project. One of those altruistic projects where you can share it with somebody. You've got someone else in mind. Those are always the best projects in my opinion, because you're doing something not just for you, but to better the community around you, right? We're a part of something so much bigger than ourselves, and so when we can contribute, that's always really, really sweet to see. So yeah, Liam actually plays a lot of golf with his dad, or with his grandpa, and so he made a golf tee. So let's go ahead, let's take a look at this golf tee, and we can see a little bit about how he put it together. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So first things first, Liam understands some 3D printing principles, and when we're 3D printing something, we want to always start from a base. So Liam's actually given us a little block here. I've actually printed this thing out, and Liam, I appreciate this, but I'm actually printing it from this side, from the bottom here. So I actually rotated this thing 360 degrees when I printed it, or not 390 degrees when I printed it, like that. Yeah, and that way we don't need any sort of support material, but I appreciate the block there. Now we can see that this has all the makings of a good golf tee, right? We've got this pointed tip here, which is going to allow us to make a kind of wedge. So if you're studying some mechanics and simple machines, you might have heard of the wedge. It's one way that we can sort of get some mechanical leverage and split apart different things, right? It's how we chop wood. That's why the axe comes to an edge, and when we're chopping wood, we're chopping it with the axe. We don't chop it with a blunt object, right? We chop it with a sharp object because it gives us some leverage. So that is why we have a point on a golf tee, and Liam really understood this point when he was constructing his golf tee. There's something else on here that's really important, which Liam has done, which is he has included this top piece, this cone, and he's hollowed it out on the inside. And we understand this intuitively, right? If we put a ball on a flat surface, obviously it's going to roll around. But if we put it inside of some sort of circular piece, right, some hollow piece, it will, the bottom of that circle will kind of sit inside of that hollow piece, and it will be stable, right? So that is what Liam has done here. He's actually cut this apart. And let's take a look at some of the shapes that went into this. Okay, so I can see that there's a cylinder here, and there's two cones here. Okay, and that'll make up the tee for the most part. So when we group these together, that makes it up for the most part, but we still have that flat top, right? And that's not going to be very good for keeping our ball in place. So what we have to do is we have to add a hole type object. And you can see that Liam's actually put one here. So if I kind of step this out, that's the hole type cone that Liam has added to his design. So we'll put that back, and when we group that, there we go. Now we've got that tip. That looks pretty good. Yeah. So that is how Liam put together his golf tee, and again, he did a stellar job. So good job, Liam, on your golf tee. Now, one other project that we want to mention today before we run off is Jesse's spring. So this is a spring that Jesse designed using 3D printing. And I always like these kinds of designs because when you're designing things, you don't have to work just in rigid bodies, things that don't move or don't flex, right? When we're working with these plastics can stretch, they can move, They can glide together in a variety of different joints, right? Complex, rigid bodies that combine together to make mechanisms. So I really appreciated this about Jesse's spring, is that it is something that can flex and move. So thank you guys so much for joining me for the Maker Highlights and Engineering Tributes. Don't go anywhere, because up next we have an interview with Sealing Gulls. So we're hoping that you'll stick around for that. But I'm Zach, and stay tuned.